This is the African Caucus TV. Thank you for joining us. In this edition of the interview, we shine a spotlight on the business environment and we delve into this dynamic landscape of African businesses where innovation and resilience are driving change across the continent. At the forefront of this movement is Mr. Tony Elumelu, whose vision for a vibrant entrepreneurial ecosystem is reshaping the future for countless aspiring business leaders. Mr. Elumelu, welcome to the African Caucus TV. Mr. Elumelu, given the rise of digital transformation and e-commerce in Africa, how do you see technology reshaping the entrepreneurial landscape and intra-African trade?
I think it's good to be in the studio of Africa 24 again. And let me pivot and say well done to your founder and yourselves for what you are doing, helping to shine the light on Africa and bring the world to Africa and the world and Africa to the world. About entrepreneurship and technology and AFTA, I think AFTCA, I think what is important from where I see it is that we have vibrant youth. Our youth are very energetic, very intelligent, and ready to contribute their own quota in developing Africa, but they lack access to capital. And they also lack basic infrastructure, what I call the foundations of modern development, that should help them catch up. If we have improvement in access to electricity on the continent, if we have capital, our young ones will be able to transform and translate their ingenuity, their innovation, their ideas to reality, and this will help us improve commerce. This will help us more importantly in developing and producing what we need on the continent for the continent that will help us to drive and power intra-Africa trade. Intra-Africa trade is poor today to me because of a variety of reasons. One being issue of transportation challenges, two being issue of producing what your neighbor needs. If you don't produce what I need, there's no need. I'm not going to trade with you. But what we need to do to produce what we consume and need is making sure that the operating environment is right, that we have the right infrastructure, that government policies are good, and that the private sector is able to bring in capital to invest as well as innovate. That way, with industrialized Africa, we cannot talk of AFCTA without industrialization in Africa. And we cannot talk of industrialization in Africa without fixing the issue of access to electricity. We can also not talk of technological advancement in Africa without dealing with energy deficiency that we have on the continent. So it's all interlinked, interwoven. For me, the primary thing, it's one of the messages I left today, is fix access to electricity in Africa and this continent will take off.
The access to electricity you just mentioned, the theme of this African Caucus in Bangui focuses on human capital, infrastructure resilience, and even green wealth. How is Transcorp Power going to position itself on this market, knowing how critical access to electricity is linked to business?
Transcorp Power, we have installed generating capacity of 2,000 megawatts, the highest in Nigeria, and I'm sure all of the highest across Africa. But we are able to produce just about 700 megawatts of electricity a day. Why so? We do not have enough gas to power the plant. We want an Africa where our natural resources will work for Africa and help to industrialize the continent. What we are also doing in Transcorp is, in addition to gas to power, we also explore other renewable energy and clean energy options. But my message is consistent, that where Africa is at today, with about 70% of our people not having access to electricity, and electricity being critical, crucial, and important for the industrialization of Africa, we need a combination approach, a combination therapy, meaning gas to power, hydro, other renewable clean energy, bring all together to take Africa off where we are today, minus 70% in terms of access to electricity. How can we talk of technology? How can we talk of AI? How can we talk of industrialized in Africa? How can we talk of feeding ourselves on the continent if we don't face access to electricity? So that is important. And I like the theme of this session, because I call them foundations of modern development. Human capital, our youth, infrastructure, basic infrastructure, and the right operating environment. They are all foundations for modern development. So we need all together. And that's why here I came, because it's a great platform to share one's idea that we need to prioritize improving electricity, and we need to prioritize our young ones. And we as African leaders must realize that no one is going to develop the continent but us.
The Tony Elumelu Foundation has empowered over 18,000 African entrepreneurs with funding, training, and even mentorship. What are your projects for the Central African Republic in that regard?
So what we do at the Tony Elumelu Foundation is across all 55 African countries. Central African Republic will have beneficiaries here. I was the president yesterday. I told you about you have about 24 beneficiaries from Central African Republic each. Non-refundable receive capital of $5,000, training and mentorship, etc., and creating networking platform for them. We want to do more. That's one of the reasons I came here. So I'm going to address the Tony Elumelu Foundation entrepreneurs. So we want to create more awareness so that when we start the next season of recruitment of entrepreneurs, we want to see a lot more interest from Central African Republic. But I've come here. I love the country. I think the only way to go is up, and I wish the young entrepreneurs well. I want to encourage them to take advantage of the Tony Elumelu Foundation Entrepreneurship Program when we advertise. Please do apply, and then we want to support more young men and women from this wonderful country. I'm happy to be here. Thank you.
This takes us to the end of this program. Thank you.
Thank you very much.